Happy Friday. Happy Good Friday. Welcome to the REKAP Lunch Hour with Guff, me, Ryan McGuffey, brought to you by our fine partners at Hooters. Visit one of the 11 Chicagoland locations. Go to originalhooters.com to find the one nearest you. Welcome in to the REKAP studios here. The Cubs making moves again. Love to see it. Love to see a team that's making moves and saying, you know what, you're going to walk the world. Bye-bye. Get the shuttle. I told you guys earlier this week, I expect the Cubs shuttle to Iowa to be warm and ready. That thing is not in park. It's in idle as they wait and figure out who are these bridge guys in the bullpen and how they're going to replace Justin Steele. Colin Ray goes today, following up on a really good start last week or earlier this week, where he had 5 strikeouts and 3 2/3. We'll see if he can get some length today. Very windy, very warm day at Wrigley Field. The over in that game is 11.5. I mean, it screams bet the under, but look at the weather. There are gusts 25 miles an hour or more into left field, and it should be a great game between two of the better offenses in the game. The Cubs lead the majors in runs, and the Arizona Diamondbacks are right behind them. So that tells you where the total is. And Corbin Burns, who got $206 million to go to Arizona, is actually off to his worst start in a long time. And he's not been good on the road. What's going on, Eric? Good afternoon. Big homestand for the Cubs. White Sox look like a Little League team. We'll talk about them in a second. NFL draft around the corner, just a week away. Looking forward to the Bears pick at 10. Bulls stink. I like that Eric comes out and just sprays it all field and gets it all out there in one comment. Becky, little optioned. Killian re-signed, and Wicks has been called up. I think reassigned. I think Becky, re-signed. Caleb Killian, which was once let go, DFA'd, is now back. But Becky giving us the Cubs roster moves is good stuff. Steele having a surgery today. Well, let's take a look at that. Justin Steele out there, and I got something for you here. He did have his surgery already, and he put out a few things on social media. Surgery today. Just wanted to take some time to say thank you to everyone who has sent their thoughts and prayers. Truly means the world to me at the number of people who have reached out to my family and me. It's beyond belief. It's super appreciated. I'll be back and better than ever. And then there's the picture of him in the hospital. It always looks so, it's always a shocker to see the picture because of what it entails. But yeah, we don't know if it was a true Tommy John surgery. I haven't seen an update on that. I'm sure the Cubs will give us some information there. But he did have a forearm into the elbow tendon issue. And so did have the surgery today to repair that. And I would expect a guy like Justin Steele, who is a Bulldog, to be back better than ever. The real Phil Simms, good afternoon. Could see the Cubs going 5-3 on this homestand. Yeah, this is kind of the beginning. They still, at the tail end of this, when they go back on the road, it's still dicey. I think they got the Brewers and Giants before, they got the Pirates, but then I think they have the Brewers and Giants before the schedule really lightens up. You're going to love May if you're a Cubs fan, because you get the Marlins in there, you get the White Sox in there, you get the Marlins again. I think the Reds are in there. I think the Rockies are in there. It is not so tough sledding in May. Kyle, happy Good Friday to you. You need to see which guys you can depend on in the bullpen. Can't keep giving away games. Find the right arms ASAP. Go Cubs. Kyle, that's what they're doing. The leash is very short for some of these guys who have options. And knowing that you have guys like Jordan Wicks and Javier Assad, who once he gets going down there, and then a Chris Flexen. I've been talking about Flexen for 10 days. So I would expect Flexen to come up at some point, because I think he's on one of those contracts where if he's not in the majors by a certain date, he will be a free agent. Clyde, do you see the White Sox bringing up one of the young left-handed starters soon? Absolutely not. Clyde, I do not expect either Hagen Smith or Noah Schultz to be anywhere near the major leagues before August. Hagen Smith is pitching in a 5-day rotation for the first time in his life because it's 7 days in college. Noah Schultz got beat up a little bit in his second start. I will look up the Birmingham Bears. But these guys need innings, guys, before we're sitting there talking about bringing guys up early in their careers. They're not ready. Let them marinate. They're in Double-A right now, okay? We do not need to be rushing. I'd say what we've seen from the White Sox this week is promising in one aspect. Chase Mydroth, Edgar Carroll, both were killing it in AAA. Both in the same homestand were brought up. I like to see the White Sox saying, you know what? If you're ready, let's go. We're not scoring runs. let's get you up here and let's make the moves. Hagen Smith is 1-0 with a 9 2/3. In 3 starts, he's pitched 9 2/3 innings, allowed 4 earned, 5 hits, 6 walks. That number's got to go down, 17 strikeouts. Noah Schultz, in 2 starts, he's gone 9 innings. He had 1 bad one, 1 good one, a whip of 1.78. Guys, these guys need to pitch, okay? They need to pitch. I think if you're going to see anybody up here, Grant Taylor would be the name I keep an eye on. I would expect Grant Taylor, of all the arms, to be up here. I would expect him to be the first of the 3 if that happens. And maybe it's in the bullpen. I just don't see a scenario where either Smith or Schultz are up here before August 1. And quite frankly, I'd be fine if you told me they didn't pitch all year for the big leagues. I really would. Part of me thinks that they'll be up here in September. In the predictions podcast that BA and I did earlier this year, we actually had a prediction of how many combined innings at the big league level. And both of our numbers were really low. I think BA's was even lower than mine. It might have been 30 combined. Godfather, all cheap moves by Ricketts. Heavy lifting should have been done in the winter. Hey, Godfather, there are certain things you're not going to be able to do in the winter. You can't plan for injuries. And I know you're going to say, well, if you would have signed X, the only one I'll make an exception to is the Bregman one feels like it hurts. I think the Alex Bregman one, it's just going to remind us all year long. You know, the day Matt Shaw gets optioned, Bregman homers twice. It just feels like that's going to be a reoccurring theme all year. Jess, good to see Cubs making moves. Let's see if the guys in Iowa are ready to play or if Ricketts needs to open the wallet. Here's what we've learned, okay? Here's what I've heard. Here's what Cap knows. Here's what Cap has heard. This is an all-in year. And I know, like, let's erase the offseason, be able to move on from the offseason. In terms of in-season, the Cubs are going to be extremely aggressive in making moves. And extremely aggressive meaning they might pounce earlier than other teams, okay? Expect the Cubs to make big moves. I would not be all that shocked if the Cubs landed a starter, a reliever, and maybe a complimentary bat, okay? I think the bat would be definitely third on that list. But I think a big name starter, and maybe it's a closer type. You know, maybe it's another closer type. And who that name is right now, I think it's way too early to be speculative. There are teams that you're sitting there and saying, well, the Marlins X. We know the Marlins are, at least going into the year, the expectation with the Marlins is they're going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. They've lost 3 straight. They're 8-10. But the Atlanta Braves were a favorite in that division. That's a team I'm keeping an eye on. They can't score. I don't understand. They've scored 61 runs in 18 games. The Braves are a team that you keep an eye on. You know, is Chris Sale available? That's the type of stuff that if I'm the Cubs, I'm keeping an eye on. I get a guy who wins the Cy Young and you don't expect to be available because, well, they're supposed to be competing for an NL East. They're off to a very rough start. It's still very early. By the way, Chris Sale is getting lit up as well. He's given up 25 hits and 14 runs in 19 innings. The strikeout to walk ratio is what you want to see. It's 24-4, but he hasn't been pitching well either. Terry, love to see the Cubs approaching this year with a sense of urgency. If you guys are ineffective, correct it sooner than later. I agree. Love that Cap mentioned about the original 6 in the NHL for the stat of the day yesterday on the recap. Hope to give you guys another one to use sometime. Kyle, I told you, that day when you said it, that felt like a stat of the day. We're men of our word here. You give us good information or you tell us where to go, we will certainly use it and abuse it when time is needed. Jess says, WGN must be listening in because they are interested in having some CHSN games. WGN, wait and save your money. Don't invest in these terrible teams. Here's the deal with that, Jess. I saw that article this morning. WGN really wouldn't have to pay. The reason WGN got out of the business, they didn't really want to, but they weren't paying the rights fees that NBC Sports Chicago was, that CHS. Those fees are monster numbers. They used to be in the $700,000 and $800,000 a game number. That number has since come down. It's about half of that now. And WGN was never paying that. They were paying pennies on the dollars to the teams for the rights fees. And as pissed as everyone was about WGN, the teams made a financial decision to leave them because they weren't getting the same rights fees from WGN. And at that particular time, WGN was looking to move on from live sports. Well, bigger heads have prevailed, and WGN sees a path where they can carry live sporting events again, promote them all day long on their news programs, and not have to pay for them. It's basically a marketing trade. Maybe there's a little bit of a fee, but the rights fees would still have to come from the teams. And that's why WGN is looking at an opportunity to stir the pot and make some noise. Now, I will say this. I would envision if that were to happen, Xfinity would be really upset about putting them over the air and probably all but putting the nail in the coffin at a possible carriage deal on Xfinity long term. So that's where my stance is on it. I think it would be great for people to see games. However it's going to happen right now, regardless of the team success or lack thereof, people need to be able to watch their teams. Clyde says it's awesome a pitcher like Justin Steele gives us updates about his own injury. Wish other pitchers would do that. Justin Steele is providing tweets and pictures of his injury. Not the first time we've ever seen a player tweet about their injury. I just thought when I saw it, it was something to share with you guys because people do like the updates. Not everyone's on Twitter. So to see him reach out, I think it's cool when athletes are humanized or when they humanize themselves. They're just another person. You know, at the end of the day, they do put their clothes on just like us. They just happen to be a walking lottery ticket, having a talent that is God-given. Wayne, Guff, Baseball 101, the most successful hitters hit the ball where it's pitched. Why do so many so-called professional hitters continue to try and pull the ball? I don't get it. A lot of Sox guilty of this. Let me tell you something about the White Sox. Their 2, 3, and 4 hitters right now are awful, and that includes Luis Robert. When you have an OPS under 500 at 20 games into the season, and it's happening with every guy, it's more than cold weather. It's more than bad luck. Vaughn, Vargas, Robert, they're terrible. And that's the one spot the White Sox need to get runs. Right now, it doesn't matter. Chase Mydroff got to hit leadoff for the first time in his career yesterday. Draws a leadoff walk in the first inning. What do we see? Pop out, foul out, line out. Boom, boom, boom. They're not seeing pitches. You can look at the luck chart for Andrew Vaughn. He's actually has a hard hit rate, et cetera. Maybe he's been a little bit unlucky. But as I told Andrew Benintendi yesterday, you know, everyone's hitting in the cold. You can't just say it's the cold weather because you're playing Oakland had no problem coming over here and hitting the ball out of the ballpark. None. What's his name? That dude, Tyler, what's his name? Tyler Soderstrom. That guy had 3 homers in 3 games. And the one that Cap and I were at the other night, he had a 2-homer game. He hit it 5 rows from the concourse. So I don't want to hear a damn thing about how cold it is when everyone's playing it. And you're bringing teams in from California who are beating you 8-0, 12-3, etc. Okay? You just don't have good talent. That's the problem. I do like that the White Sox have brought up these guys, but they can't fix everything. You can't lean on rookies to be those guys. Kyle wants to know what everyone's eating for lunch, enjoying a bacon cheeseburger and fries. Kyle coming hard with a classic combo on a Good Friday. Grant Taylor is seen as a closer. Clyde, I'm telling you, long-term, he's seen as a starter. He's starting right now in Birmingham. They like his stuff, the makeup, etc. He throws 100+. Yes, he could be. I could see a scenario where he comes up and gets some late inning, high leverage innings as a way to manage the innings down the stretch this year. Will they get the games in this weekend with the rain? I would expect, Becky, that I'm guessing without looking that this is the only time the Arizona Diamondbacks are in Chicago this year, and they will come hell or high water, get them in. They'll get today's game in for sure. I'm not going to play meteorologist here, but a lot of the rain is looking like it's coming overnight at times too. I understand that you don't believe it. Who you got winning the playoff rounds? Lip, I'm going to have to take a deep dive. You're talking about the NHL playoff rounds, I know. I'm going to do a deep dive and look at my NBA and NHL playoff formats and see who I like to come out. Kyle Finnegan still available for a closer. Is that true? I thought Kyle Finnegan signed. I think he re-signed with Washington. Kyle Finnegan is with the Washington Nationals. He is a Washington National. So he is not. Yeah, he got to save this. He's got a couple saves. 6 saves. Maybe he's available in a trade, but he signed a couple months ago. I remember when they're not trading him because the Nationals are trying to win. The Nationals are 7-12. It's not been great thus far, but they are a team that is trying to sneak into that wild card. I hope you're right, but past actions from Ricketts don't leave me confident. However, I really hope I'm so wrong. Chicago gets a winning team come October. Swayze, not going to lie. The penny pinching in the offseason has been annoying, but it seems like they may be forced to move earlier than normal. Keep in mind, moving earlier than normal usually means spending more than you normally are comfortable with. But again, what are you trying to do? You know, we've heard so much about sense of urgency. Jed's on his last year, 90-win team, competing every year for division, blah, blah, blah. James says replacing one mid-level player for another. The Scrolls, I'm sure there's a sarcastic comment coming here. Cubs should have broke the bank on Soto. Kyle Tucker may be good, but he isn't must-see TV. Soto had the Sosa swag. Stop getting boring players. Scrolls, then you don't understand effing talent, dude. And I love when you chime in on the show, but Kyle Tucker is must-watch TV. You might not like the fact that when he homers that the bat doesn't go way in the air and he's pumping his chest, etc. But come on, dude. Like, I don't understand that comment. I don't. Kyle Tucker is an absolute beast. He's an absolute beast. 301, 410, 578. In 17 games, 21 games, 25 hits, 19 runs, 19 RBI, 16 walks, 5 homers, 8 doubles. Okay. I mean, okay. I hear you. Okay. And I think Juan Soto is a generational player. I do. But Kyle Tucker, I know he played like 100 games last year, had a higher OPS than Juan Soto. Right now, Juan Soto's hitting 221 with a 773 OPS. Could you imagine the backlash if Juan Soto was a Cub right now with those numbers? I could. I know exactly how it would sound. Enjoy Kyle Tucker. I hope the Cubs sign him long-term. I do. I don't know if they will, but Kyle Tucker's a damn good baseball player, one of the best in the game. It's so pathetic, the state of Chicago sports these days. Are we supposed to celebrate that the Bulls made the playing game, that the Hawks did not have the worst record again? No. No. Astros, if you would have seen the show yesterday, and if you didn't, go back and watch. I give my 2 cents on the Bulls. It's absolutely pathetic. And when you're screaming for patience and you're number 5 at the helm, man, there's zero accountability. Asking fans for patience when you haven't won a playoff series in a decade and you've been to 1 Eastern Conference Finals in 27 effing years. 27 years. And you're sitting there asking for patience? Sorry, man. This is Chicago. This is the Bulls. Stop living off the 6 banners that you hung to the rafters so the fans could see them at the playoff game. They're 30 plus years old. I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. We're now on generation number 2 that never saw Michael Jordan dribble a basketball in this city. They have to find him on YouTube or they know him more for the shoes. 2 generations. Stop telling me about patience. That's insanity to me. How the hell does this city even have the audacity to ask for patience? Just calm down, because there's new beer specials at Hooters. That's what a lead-in. AK getting the heart rate up, and I'm calming it down because we got cheers to spring beer specials. These are new specials from our fine partners at Hooters. The Big Daddy mugs are flowing at Hooters. If you have one of those, oh boy, when they ask for the regular or tall, go with the tall. Summer Shandies, Dos Equis, and Blue Moons in the Big Daddy mugs. It is Good Friday. I've been saying that all week. Guys, the Mahi tacos, fresh off the menu, $14.99. They're worth going upgrading for. Matter of fact, we're doing the fish tacos in the McGuffey house tonight. Just so you know. Fish tacos in the McGuffey house tonight. Shrimp tacos. If you want to spend a little less, get the shrimp tacos, $9.99. Of course, the $6 cocktails. But the beer specials and the Big Daddy mugs, they're my favorite. Go to one of 11 Chicagoland locations. Visit originalhooters.com. If you want to pick something up to go or have it delivered by one of the fine services, order.hooters.com. Find one of these great specials off their menus. Godfather, if they were all in, they would have signed Bregman. They're full of crap. If they were all in, they'd be over the luxury tax. What's the ongoing issue with CHSN? This is silly at this point. It's carriage. It's carriage. Xfinity holds all the cards. They don't want to put them on at the platform and spot that they've always been on. Xfinity is not going to push back on that. the CHSN went with the route to put these games over the air with the antenna. Xfinity doesn't like that in terms of being able to keep that method. They want them on the premier platform, and that's where we are. And the Cup, it's not just a CHSN thing, guys. This is a coast-to-coast thing. I've been saying it. It's RSNs are having a lot of problems unless you're the Dodgers, unless you're the Phillies, unless you're the Giants that have these long-term TV deals. Until those deals are up, the rest of the world's playing in a different pool. And it's not good because at the end of the day, the consumers and the fans get screwed. No one's going to pay a monthly subscription to watch Dansby Swanson. Dansby Swanson's got to pick it up. He has a great start, and now he's I think he's hitting like 170 the last I checked, and he needs to pick it up. I know Cubs pitching might be suspect, but man, you can't ignore the star pitching Cubs face to start the season. Now up a brutal stretch. I'm so sick of hearing about the stretch. Guys, they're 12-9. They're in first place. They're on the back end of this brutal stretch. I'll say it again. I'm gonna have to show it one day on this fine program, because I don't think you guys, there's too much bitching about the schedule. There is. Every team plays every team. There's no more of this, well, look at you don't no. Every team plays every team. If there's been this much talk about the schedule, and I've been saying it, Cap and I were talking about it a week ago. Cap's brought it up on the Cubs Recap podcast with Gordon. I'm begging you people to look at the schedule in May, and I'm just going to let you know what it is, okay? I have it right here. After this homestand that has the Diamondbacks, Dodgers, and Phillies, and yes, that's a gauntlet. And then you have a road trip at Pittsburgh, at Milwaukee, so you're in your own division. Mid-May, right after Mother's Day, here's what you have on your schedule. 3 against the Marlins, 3 against the White Sox here at Wrigley Field. 3 at the Marlins, 3 at the Reds. Come back home, 3 against the Rockies, 3 against the Reds at Washington. That's a month. Dude, that's a bunch of crap. That's 12 games against 3 of the worst teams in baseball. No, actually, no, the 3 worst teams. Miami, the White Sox, Miami, Colorado. Can we you want to bitch? Do it when they go 6-6 in that stretch. Then I can hear about it. Because the Cubs have done an admirable job of staying afloat, losing a star pitcher. I know they've blown a few games. Okay. Again, we are at April 18th. The Cubs will not sign Tucker to a long-term deal unless they way overpay. This is why the Astros traded him. They did not want to pay him $50 million a year. Do the Rockies realize that normal people don't have cable, or the Ricketts realize normal people don't have cable anymore? Luis Robert has had an awful start. Kyle, any fun plans tomorrow? Doing a podcast with the family about the draft next Thursday. The only guy I consider moving up for is Mason Graham, not Genty or Warren. No shot for Abdul Carter. Too much capital to give away for him. Kyle, I like that plan, my friend. I have zero interest in moving up at all, to be honest with you. And to move up to grab Genty or Warren, I don't understand it. I don't. And we can't look ahead and say, if you could tell me Genty's going to be Barry Sanders, I don't think Warren, I'm not as big on Warren as everyone else is. I loved watching him at Penn State, but if you go back and watch film on him prior to his senior year, I think the tape by the way, tape always tells the story. It always tells the story. There's my guy, Breck. Championship City problems, but I'm disappointed in the Avs and Nugs overlap on same-day playoff schedule. You know what? That's just that's the audacity you have to come in here and complain about the Nuggets and Avs playing on the same day. Chase Mydroth looks very promising. He has a 6-game on-base streak to start a career. He's looked very good. You know, there's a couple times. He was 0 for 3 yesterday, but he looked comfortable at the top of the lineup. He did start with a leadoff walk. Clyde, WGN has a partnership with the CW, and they've shown sports like college basketball and racing. They could bring baseball or basketball. Of course. Yes. It's all about, hey, guys, money, money, money. This is always, forever and always will be about money. Wayne, Vaughn and Robert are nowhere near where they were projected. And that's the problem. Yeah, it's a huge, huge problem. And because of that, look, Wayne, go back before 2025. Their projections are part of why the rebuild didn't work. The first one. For Good Friday, I have to say, going with a McDonald's filet of fish combo. Oh, love it. There we go. We're going hard today. We've got a bacon cheeseburger fry combo. Now we got the filet of fish. Astros observing. I like that, being observant on what is the final Friday of Lent. Guff, honestly, if you look at the big picture regarding Chicago sports ownership, who in your mind has the best ownership? Definitely something to think about. Tell Cap I said hello. Cap Eric says hello.
What's up, Eric?
Best ownership in the city right now. All right. I'm going to give it to the McCaskies. Here's why. Here's why. Oh, my God. Here's why I'm giving it to the McCaskies. Because they finally went out of their comfort zone to bring in the right coach. Whether or not he works out, we'll see. But they went out and got the biggest name. They offered him a lot of money, way more money than they've ever been comfortable with. They fired a coach in season. They had never done that before.
He's never won. He hasn't never won a playoff game, George.
Okay. So we're
It
giving.
has to be the Ricketts. They won a World Series. They broke the bank for Craig Counsell. Until they're knocked from that perch, it's by them by default.
This was Cap did not let me finish that. It was going to be a two-way combo, but both by default. The Ricketts by default are probably the best ownership, but this is recency bias here too. I'm glad that they won a World Series 9 years ago. I'm glad that Wrigleyville has now been renamed Rickettsville, but they haven't won a playoff series, Cap, since 2017?
George has never won a playoff game. Been the CEO since 2011.
So what have you done for me lately? It's a good question, Eric, regardless. Lip Ripper, I'm eating fried oyster, poor boy, and crawfish for Good Friday. Lip, come on, talk to us. That's what you get. The benefit of living in Florida, man. That probably was caught last night. Man, oh man. If Robert hopes to get out of Chicago, the way he's hitting ain't going to get it done. At the same time, the dude has zero lineup protection. Fair about zero lineup protection. And defensively, he's still playing at a high level. He made a great catch the other night that easily was extra bases. Enjoy your Easter weekend, Guff. You the man. Appreciate you, Wayne. At what point are White Sox fans officially on 122 loss watch? Way too early for that. But I'll tell you what, it's not shaping up like I think even some of the Sox people thought it would go. Their offense sucks. They have a 566 team OPS. That is so flippin' bad. I'm telling you guys, it is so bad. So let's look at last year. Last year, the White Sox are 4-14. Okay. The Sox got their fourth win last year in their 26th game. The White Sox were 4-22 last year. 4-22. So that even right now, okay, they're roughly 8 games better than they were a year ago in terms of pace. Okay. So not there yet. How much do you think the Cubs miss Bellinger at this point? The Cubs could have brought back Hector Neris to help the bullpen. Okay. Astros, we are not saying Hector Neris should have been brought back. Come on, dude. No way are we saying Hector that guy stunk. And how much are the Cubs missing Cody Bellinger? He's hitting 186. You tell me. How much are the Cubs missing Cody Bellinger?
Where would he be playing?
He's hitting 186. All right. Clyde wants to know if his sons would love eating at Hooters. They're 5 and 6 years old. Dude, any 5 and 6 year old loves a good chicken tender. Okay. So 100%. 1,000%. Couple more here as we wrap things up on a Good Friday. Cubs fans complain about the schedule in their first place team. As a Sox fan, I'm wishing for it to be September already, right? Ricketts should be ashamed of the TV situation. The whole nation could watch the Cubs when I was growing up. You can't even watch them locally. Complete shit show. Okay, this is why I honestly, I think me and Cap might do a podcast about how television works. Because this is not, the Cubs aren't robbing. It is a bigger problem than the teams. The teams want as many fans as possible to see their product. That is a fact. I'm telling you it's a fact. You don't have to believe me. It's an absolute fact. The problem is, and it's not anybody in the consumer area's fault, but cord cutting, which is a consumer thing, not a problem, by the way, cord cutting has completely changed the dynamics of everything. They made boatloads of money, like Demi Moore and in Indecent Proposal, where she's rolling around in cash in the bed. That's the kind of behavior that was happening in the 90s and 2000s. Okay. There was so much money. It was fine. Everyone had cable. And I said this on the radio earlier this week. I challenge you guys to go up and down your block and see how many people have the same subscription as you, because you might have Xfinity, your neighbor might have YouTube, the person the neighbor from them has over the air, the person next to them has Hulu, the person next to them has DirecTV. Like, that's a real thing. And because of that, it's caused a absolutely complete chaos in this whole mess. Kyle, happy Easter to you, Guff, Katie, Cap, and the entire Lunch Hour crew. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Let's get to our bet of the day. I don't have the Aviators, but I should for Pablo, because we finally cashed one after a kind of an up and down week. Davis Martin pitching against the A's yesterday, and I really like the under strikeout total. The A's are now going into the day yesterday. They struck out the least amount of times than any team in baseball, and Davis Martin got 3. It was 4.5. That was a cash ticket. I'm going to stay with the White Sox today. I know that the Red Sox are bringing up Hunter Dobbins, I think, for a spot start tonight. He has 1 start this year. The White Sox team total, and it depends on where you shop. I always encourage shopping around. You're getting plus money on a team total of under 3.5. The White Sox have gone over this total twice this month. Twice. This number is 12-2 against 12-2 just this month. On the road this year, it's only 6 games, small sample size. The White Sox have scored 12 runs. That's 2 runs a game. They have hit this over twice this month. That's 4 runs, folks. 4. Until further notice, if I'm getting plus money on a White Sox team total of 3.5 or more, I'm on it. And I will happily lose this tonight if the White Sox go on some kind of binge, because I'd love to see it. Because right now, they're throwing away at bats pretty much from top to bottom, with the exception of the new guys. Okay? There's not a lot of good approaches happening right now, and starters who normally don't have success are having it against the White Sox. And in an environment like Fenway, I'm doing it. I'm on this number. Under 3.5 tonight. And until further notice, I'm going to keep it on. Guff, please don't waste yours or Caps with the TV. It's the 21st century. People should get it. Happy Easter from Clyde. Happy Easter to you. Bears might be good this season, says Becky. Absolutely. But there's the bet of the day, wrapping up a Good Friday edition of the Recap Lunch Hour with Guff, me, Ryan McGuffey. For everybody here at the Recap, have a great Easter weekend, folks. Enjoy it. Spend some time with family. Remember why we celebrate it. And it's supposed to be nice today, but bumpy roads, spring weather. I think next week we hopefully should start to turn the corner. Landon, sorry you're late. Was working on your bike. Happy Easter, no doubt. Love the bet. Just bet against the Sox. It sucks emotionally, but money is green. Have a great day. Have a better weekend. Appreciate you guys. It's the Recap Lunch Hour with Guff, brought to you by our fine partners at Hooters. Visit one of their 11 Chicagoland locations at originalhooters.com. See you Monday.